Alright guys, I decided to do a video on my knives and swords collection that have been in movies, and I actually had a lot more than I thought I had. So I just did a little bit of research and found a bunch of movies here that featured a bunch of my blades. Some were actually created for the movie, some just used blades, so we will go over them one by one here, and I don't know, just something to do, see if you might be interested in them. But first one I want to start with is a very, very iconic blade. That is the Buck 119. This has been used in a ton of movies. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Let's see. This is a very classic type of Bowie style. If you ever watch the Scream movies, they're in every single one of the Scream movies. It's like the killer's knife of choice. I mean, there's just tons of movies that this thing's in, and definitely a very iconic American type of knife because it was made back in the 40s and still makes them today. So definitely a great little collection to have, and you can say it's been in a movie. So let me put this back. Alright. Go to the next one here. That's the SOG. Where is the SOG at? Right here. This is the SOG Seal Pup. I've got 3 of these. I love these little knives. This one actually is a Seiki Japan one. They don't make these anymore. And they're extremely hard to find and not too cheap. You can see, I don't know if it's going to focus or not, but this one is from Seiki. The new ones are from All-State Steel, which is, it's not the best, but it's still decent. This one's pretty good. This was used in a lot of movies. One is Under Siege. If you ever see the knife fighting Under Siege, this is what he uses. Steven Seagal. It's in Shooter. I don't think they've ever used them in Shooter, but they have them on their, on their shoulder. It's on the Lone Survivor also. Even if you watch the show Last Man Standing, he actually did a podcast with this knife trying to sell it. So it's definitely been around the block, and it's, definitely a good little knife to have. I mean, it's not a batoning knife or a survival type knife, but it's, if you're looking for like a survival knife, that's made to fight. This is actually a good choice. All right, let's put this back. Alright, let's go on to another one that you probably don't even know. Let's see here. If you're not familiar with this company, this is an all-American company. It's from Tops USA. Here's the logo. Tops Knives. They make crazy good quality knives. Just hold this one out with one hand. Sorry for all the shaking. Doing this with one hand. This is the Tops Silver Eagle. And I bet you're wondering, what movie was this in? If you ever watched the movie Predators, it's one of the continuations of the Predator series where there are a bunch of humans trapped on a planet and they try to fight them. This was actually used by the main character. He never actually pulled it out, but it was on his shoulder. And that's just nice. That's this knife, rather. The Tops Steel Eagle, there's tons of variations of it. This is the 107E. This is actually the one he used. There's long versions, there's sawback versions, there's just tons of them. So you can get whichever one you want. It's got lanyard holes, got kind of ambidextrous free hand. So yeah, that's the Steel Eagle. And that's in 1095 steel too, so it's a very usable knife. So let's put that one away. Okay. Now the next two rather, is very iconic. I know you're gonna recognize these right off. And that's these two. Excuse me. There's a company called Down Under Knives, and they make more than these knives. They make a bunch of different types of knives, but these are from Crocodile Dundee. If you ever watched the old 80s movie, which I hope they don't remake, but they probably will. Take these out of the sheath. These have identical sheaths, by the way. They're just different color. The sheaths are really nice leather. Really well done, really well stitched. They come with a sharpening stone. It's very hard to get out. Retention is really good. Comes with these. They're not actually fake teeth. They're actually real teeth. I don't think they're crocodile teeth, or bone, but they're actually some type of carved bone. And you got a sharpening steel. Comes with every knife. So, and the retention is really good. You're not going to drop these out because you can check it. It's not coming out. Put this aside. Get the other one out. Okay. All right. Now, but you're wondering, why does he have two of these? Well, it's a long story. This is the regular Outback. It has the colored stacked handle, which is leather. Distressed brass, which is not polished. This one is 440C stainless. I mean, it's not a bad steel, but it's not the best steel. But this was the only thing available years ago. It's been the only thing available for years. And you had to get what you could get. So I got this one. Then a few days ago, and there were only 3 of them in stock. And I actually managed to get one before it went out. This is the Outback Eclipse. This is in 1095 steel, so it's a very usable steel. Very, very well polished. The brass is polished really well on it. The handle is black, stacked leather. It's a little bit different than the regular Outback, but same basic dimensions. The handle on the Outback, the regular Outback, is a little beefier, but it's not a whole lot of difference. They're about the same size, but very, very nice. And I have to say it, that's a knife. All right. Let's see here. Go to some more iconic knives here that probably needs no introduction, but I'll show them anyway. Put these up. Alright. I don't have all of these knives. I have all of them except for one, which the other one is hard to get. These are Rambo knives. And if you're a child of the 80s like I am, you love these knives. And I'll try to go in order here. I don't have the 5th knife because it's not available. It's always sold out. So there's a couple versions of this knife. This is the universal or United Cutlery version, 440 stainless, or it's either 440 or 420 stainless. They have some from various makers that are really, really good, but you pay thousands of dollars for them. There's some from Lyle Knives, the ones that actually designed it for the movie, but those are thousands of dollars. This one comes with a sharpening stone built into it, just like in the movie. Pull it out here. And there's a classic sawback and two-tone on the blade. And of course, I can't do it with one hand, but it unscrews and got a compass and survival gear in the handle. Got a screwdriver, a flathead on one side, and Phillips on the other. But, when he said when the sheriff asked him what he can hunt with a knife, he said, "Name it." You know, this is definitely definitely something you could hunt with if you wanted to. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, this is the the Rambo 2 knife, First Blood Part 2. Basically, it's the same knife, just different color. Almost. The pommel's a little different. The pommel on here has a kind of a glass breaker on it. The other one's flat, but it's the same type of handle, compass, and survival gear in it. The screwdrivers. Same sawback, it's just a different tone blade. This is a blacker blade, and it's not really polished. It's kind of satin finish on the one that's not painted, but same type of knife. I actually like this knife probably a little better, but it's supposed to give it that stealthy look where he was going on a mission. This is called the mission knife. So definitely a nice little piece of history. Excuse me. It's hard to get in with one hand. This one, it took me forever to find. This is the Rambo 3 knife. Now, it's completely different than any other knife from Rambo because it's just basically a Bowie. I don't know what happened with the designer or what. Gil Hibben designed these. And this one definitely is a beefy knife. It's got a little wire cutter saw back there. Little striker on the pommel. It's not a bad little Bowie. You get the classic Rambo 3 logo on it. This is very nice. Okay, this is the Rambo 4 machete knife, however you want to call it. I don't have the Rambo 5 knife though. I want it, but this is the closest I got. It's Rambo 4. Get it out of here. This is a beefy knife. This thing is heavy. If you use this, it's going to wear you out. But it's actually a very usable knife. This is a 1090 steel, I believe. I mean, it's made by Gil Hibben and leather wrapped, kind of a suede type of leather wrap. But it's kind of that. It's supposed to give it that kind of a distressed, homemade type of look. But definitely a beefy knife, or machete, or however you want to call it. But I like it. That's it for the Rambo knives. I just love Rambo, by the way. Here's one you probably have no clue what this is. This is what's called a coffin handle Bowie. And this right here, a lot of people don't know what these are. They're made to go in your belt, and your belt holds it on so you don't have to clip it on your belt. It's kind of a retention type of knob. But, yeah, this was actually, it was used in a space movie. It was not a space movie, but a space TV show. This was used in Firefly. If you ever seen, there's only like one season of Firefly, but if you've ever seen it, this was actually used in it by Jane, I believe it was. He used this knife. It's called the Patrick Henry Bowie. It's a neat little wedge design and a little sawback design there. It's kind of unique. I haven't seen that in a lot of knives. It's your standard coffin handle knife. But yeah, it was used in Firefly. Alright, let's go on to the next one. What do we have here? Okay, looks like we got K-Bar. Where's my K-Bar? There it is. I'm losing knives here. Now this is a very, very iconic knife. This is just one version. There's a ton of versions of this knife, by the way. This is the K-Bar USMC knife. This was used in a ton of movies. I mean, there's so many to name. I just couldn't use them because this thing's been around since World War II at least. I mean, I could think of a few right off. Sons of Anarchy TV show, Terminator movie, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Tropical Thunder. I mean, there's just tons of them this thing was in. But yeah, they make a ton of variations. This one has a rubber type handle. There's some that have a leather stacked handle. Some have a brown blade, black blade. I mean, there's just tons of different variations of this knife. Just a very, very classic knife, and it's tried and true because this thing has been used, since the 40s. So it's, reaching that 100-year mark. 20 years, it can be 100 years old. So this thing's been tried and true. Even though it's got a stick tang, it's still a great fighting knife if you ever had to defend yourself or whatever. Little known here. Actually, I didn't like this knife too much when I got it. This is the Sierra KT Ultima. It's a wicked little knife. It's super sharp, got a little tanto tip on it. The only thing I don't like is this right here. It kind of digs into yours. When you hold it like that and you got it down here, it kind of digs a little bit. But it's got a really grippy handle. Kind of a serration there. Really, really aggressive serration. And if you're a fan of superhero movies, this was used in Captain America. I believe it was Civil War. I was using the beginning of it when he was rescuing people on the boat. I believe it was Civil War or one of the Captain America movies. And he threw this to a bad guy's hand. It was the only time it was ever in a movie, but I recognized that knife right off when I seen it. But yeah. I don't know if they make these anymore because I haven't seen them for a long time. But these are definitely nice little knives. And very, very grippy. And come with a nice little sheath too, very tactical type of sheath if you're looking for that type of thing. Nice little pouch on it and 2 straps, but yeah, definitely very nice. The next one, kind of a controversial knife. Now this one's kind of old and beat up. I got it at a pawn shop here, I think it's last year. Comes with a little sharpened stone. This is the Ontario pilot's knife. They usually give them to pilots to cut their stuff out of a down pilot or down airplane or whatever. And this is not representative of what they are new because this is a very used knife. Comes with a little sawback where it's kind of a very, very fine sawback. I guess good for chopping, sheet metal from planes or whatever. Little swedge. It's kind of sharp, but it's not real sharp swedge. You could sharpen it up. Leather stacked handle. Very, very aggressive striking pommel. I mean, you could really strike something with that. But, yeah. And this was used, if you ever watched the movie Red Dawn, this was used by one of the Colonel pilot in Red Dawn that crashed. This was actually used by that, and I'm sure it's been in a ton of other movies. Let's see. I think the last ones we got here are from my special type of movies is Highlander. This is the Highlander katana from season 2 to season 8, or season 6, I believe it was. But this was there's one for season 1, then they moved to season 2 on up. So let me, if I can get this one up here real quick. I'll already go black on the other for a second, but this one's old. I got this in the 90s, so it's definitely been corroded a little bit and kind of turning green, but kind of gives it that old type of look. Yeah, this is just a wall hanger. This is 440 or 420 stainless, so it's not actually usable, but it's definitely a little piece of history, and I had to have one back in the 90s. I thought I was like the big guy having one when I got this because Highlander was all the thing back then. But alright, let's go again. This is Highlander. This is the Highlander 3 movie. This is the dark magic used by Kane in the movie. Let's see if I can pull out the saya here. Got a nice little bohea on it. It's got a dragon. It's kind of hard to see, but it's got a dragon head with a like red pearl in the middle of the eye, or middle of between the eyes. Kind of a, I don't know if it's a dragon or I guess that's a dragon, but it's called a Dark Magic sword. Yeah, I mean it's 440 also, so it's not a usable sword, just something I use for mowing. This is also from Highlander 1, the movie, and this needs to be polished up a little bit, but this is the broadsword he used. He's only used it for, I think, to train with, and he buried his wife with it, so he didn't use it after Ramirez died. But that's kind of my movie collection. I'm sure I'm probably missing a few because there's a lot of knives and movies that I'm not aware of. But there's one more, and the last one, I think. I didn't even go over it. Everybody should know what this is. Hold on a second. If you don't know what this is, you haven't been watching TV for the past 10 years. This is the Team Gemini from Busey. Very high-end knife maker. This was used in The Walking Dead. From Daryl, if you ever like the character Daryl, it's got the crossbow. He used this knife from, I think, 3 seasons, something like that, till he lost it in Terminus. This is a very iconic knife. This knife was boosted a lot by that TV show. There's like orders out the yin yang from the company after that show came out. So definitely a good knife, and Busey's probably one of the best makers out there. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. This has been a little overview of some of my knives from movies, but if I find any more, I'll let you know. Thanks.